Was Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman a mistake? Kinda was. Welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast review of SmackDown. I am Corporate Chopper. I'm joined by Randy Andy Datson. And firstly, we're sponsored by Beer 52. Hey! Get the beers in, lads, etc. for Rumble. We'll be talking more about that later. But first, let's talk. Yeah, I know you do. Let's talk about SmackDown. Let's talk about this Paul Heyman, Adam Pearce, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns thing. So the show opened, and I'll say for starters as well, ever since Roman's come back, I've been a massive fan of his story. It's made perfect sense. They've put a lot into it. It's been personally my favorite story in wrestling currently. It's amazing. I love it. Can't stop singing its praises about it. However, this show happened. So it started off with in-ring promo segment, shocker, with Roman and Paul Heyman. No Jey Uso on this show at all, which is a bit strange, I thought.
Yeah, the complete lack of mention of that as well makes me think that maybe he's come into contact with someone. Yeah, just because they didn't mention it at all. Like, if he had been injured, they might have said that. If something else had happened, they might, or like he's not here for personal reasons, they might have said that. So I don't want to assume that, obviously, but like, no, of course. The fact they didn't mention it would maybe suggest that. But yeah, it did feel a bit weird, and I don't know whether the fact that he wasn't there was the reason that they maybe panicked a bit and did something and booked this instead.
Yeah, maybe it was supposed to be Jey instead of Paul Heyman doing this whole thing, but we'll see. So they came out and cut a promo, just Roman and Paul. I thought Roman cut a great promo, just saying how it was really stupid that Adam Pearce got to just feign an injury and just pick someone else for the match. He doesn't get to complain about his body hurting because he's not wrestled for years. But my ankles have been bad since college. My shoulders are hurting. My back's hurting from carrying this company for years. It was a really well done promo from Roman. And it was saying he doesn't miss time away from the company. Like, it took his health being at risk during a pandemic. He actually said that. They referenced a pandemic on WWE TV. Who'd have thunk it? He's saying it took my health being at risk during a pandemic for me to take time away from this company. But aside from that, I don't take time off. I'm here busting my ass 24/7, all that stuff. Adam Pearce came out and tried to basically shut him up and just said, hey guys, this is too much. Like, you got to stop. And Roman, I thought, then got even better with his promo, just started running down Pearce and just getting fired up and, getting right in his face and just saying, well, you're going to come out here and whine and moan and complain. It's no wonder you didn't make it to WWE. I was like, ooh, that's pretty spicy. That's a good line. Heyman then started laughing from Reigns' promo. Adam Pearce kind of turns to him. He's like, what, you think this is funny? He's like, I can take the intimidation from Roman, be it verbal or physical, but I'll be damned if I'm going to take it from Paul Heyman. And then Roman brilliantly was just like, Paul, he's disrespecting you. If he's disrespecting you, he's disrespecting me and my whole family. I think you need to put him in check. Kind of handed him the microphone. And then Heyman cut a great promo. I thought it was brilliant of him just being like, well, you think you buy into this persona that I put across on TV, that I'm some coward? I've been hanging out with the Anoa'i family since I was 15. They wouldn't let anyone hang out with them. Do you know what it takes? Do you know what the Anoa'i family are like? Got really fired him. He says, I'm from New York. I'll whip your ass, bitch. Which I thought was great.
It really was that kind of, and I sort of try and sort of get parallels from real life. It's when two big boys at school are having a go at each other, and then one of them goes, do you know what, Steve, you come have a go, and the little guy's like, oh, awesome, all right, this is my chance to shine, I'm going to do this. Heyman's a fantastic promo. He's always going to be a fantastic promo, and I really did like it. I really did like all of this, and they managed to book a match between Heyman and Pearson for the main event.
You just say Pearson again?
Yeah, I did. I did a video this week for a thing we're doing next week, and I had to shoot it twice because I said Adam Pearson again.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about Adam Pearce accepting this match was that he actually thought that it was going to happen. And I just think that makes him look like an idiot because Paul Heyman hasn't wrestled, according to Cage Match, since 2013. And that was just him basically standing next to the ring. Paul Heyman doesn't have matches. So the fact that and then I know Adam Pearson's Pearce is not a wrestler, and therefore it doesn't really matter what he does.
Well, he is a wrestler.
He is a wrestler, but he's not like a full-time. Even he's a general manager, sort of. He's not but he can come down and goes, guys, this is too much. That's allowed. But the fact that he was so easily convinced that Paul Heyman was going to step in the ring and have a fight with him, I don't know, just made him look like a bit of an idiot, which I know that is the point. And I know that that Roman is doing all of these things to make everyone else around him look like an idiot. I mean, he would have known it kayfabe wise that if he says, Paul, you cut a promo, that Paul's going to get carried away. And then so afterwards, Roman was always going to have something to have a go at him about. And it feels like he's setting them up. He sets up Jey Uso for a fall. He's setting up Heyman for a fall. It's kind of like setting them up so he can then put them back in their place so that they can understand that he is the tribal chief. Yeah. Anyway, I've just rambled.
The thing I liked about this, though, which actually we'll talk about the backstage segment first because that kind of leans more into it. So later on, after Heyman's promo and the match is made, Pearce versus Heyman, Heyman's backstage with Roman again. Roman sitting in the chair, Heyman talking over his shoulder. Love that visual. It's great. And Heyman just saying like, we did it. I realized what you wanted me to do. I was feeling it. I could tell what you wanted me to do, and I fed into it. We got him. A great plan, kind of thing. And Roman's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I handed you the microphone so you could run him down verbally, but if you want to make a match, you should stick to your word. Be a man. Do what you got to do, Paul. Like, take care of your business. And then Heyman's like, oh, what have I done? And is quite upset. So what I liked about this was that this seemed like it was leaning into Reigns is punishing Heyman for his blunder with the contract stuff last week, because that was Heyman's fault. Heyman was very adamant about the contract and getting it all sorted, and it was Reigns saying, "I'll consider this handled," when he handed it to Heyman and all that stuff. It is Heyman's fault that they got outsmarted. So I thought, because Reigns isn't being so overt with his punishment of Heyman, putting him in a match against Adam Pearce is the way to punish him. Essentially, that was my thinking going into it. But it doesn't quite turn out like that, because once we get to the main event segment, Adam Pearce is already in the ring, doesn't get an entrance because basically no one on this show got an entrance. I guess they were a bit rushed. And Heyman comes out, still in his suit, but he's taping up his fist, looking like he's ready to fight. But then he does kind of the same thing that Adam Pearce did, in that he gets to the steps and then just kind of falls over, and then tries to get up the steps again and then falls over again. And then he kind of backs up to the barricade, and then he just says, "Ha-ha, cards subject to change." And then Roman Reigns comes out and then beats up Adam Pearce. They brawl around in the arena for a little bit. Kevin Owens comes out. They said that Kevin was, he couldn't get in earlier because Roman had pulled some strings and made sure that Kevin couldn't get in the arena. But he came in and he beat up Reigns. I thought the beatdown was really cool. He hit 2 stunners and a pop-up powerbomb through the commentary table. Thought that was great. And that was the show. That was the end of it. Like, it was all good, but I don't think the story actually made sense. For the first time since Roman has come back since SummerSlam, the story didn't make sense.
So my thing with this storyline is that while I know wrestling's not real, I've been able to buy into it every single week and been like, oh, okay. Oh, right, so that's happening. And I really bought into this whole storyline, even if some of it's been sort of obviously very wrestling. But this was the first time that I went, oh, that's a bit goofy. And I kind of got pulled out away from the being really sort of buying into it, which is a shame. And this, by the way, this isn't terrible. This isn't rubbish TV. This absolutely isn't. But it's just because the standards of this feud have been so high that it's the first time I went, that's not great. But another thing I really liked about this, so to counteract my negativity with some positivity, is that Roman isn't just making himself look completely invincible. Like, obviously in his matches, he's looked great and he's looked dominant, but the fact that he's kind of letting himself take the beat down, taking 2 stunners, going through a table, makes me think that I don't think that Owens is going to win, but it makes Roman look beatable, which is really important for any match. Like, even if you're dominant, you should still look like there is a way you can be beaten, because that makes you human and that makes the match so much more intriguing.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely agree with that. And yeah, like you were saying, this doesn't mean it was bad. It's just not as good as the Reigns storyline has been, which has been really good as of late. But yeah, the thing that made this storyline so good was that all of it made sense, which in WWE is such like a rarity. And this just kind of like, I was like, oh no, it is a WWE storyline. It had the air of like normal WWE around it, which is just like, I don't know, it felt a bit off to me. Because of last week when Adam Pearce was cutting his promo at the very end of the show, his microphone cut out. In the recaps they were playing, they dubbed over it with Adam Pearce saying a new line that wasn't in the original promo of him saying it was card subject to change. And that is now that's their catch-all for this feud, is card subject to change. What they've done is now made it not make sense, because last week he was saying if there is a reason enough to believe that someone wouldn't compete at a pay-per-view, an official can find a suitable replacement for the match. Him being the competitor and the official, he can do that. He can determine whether there's reason enough to find someone else, and he can find someone else. That makes perfect sense. But now he's just saying card subject to change. And then for this one, even though the match between Reigns and Pearce never officially got underway, it was implied that Reigns was going to have a match. He just took Heyman's place. So now it's just like, well, I can just not do it if I don't want to. I can just replace it with anyone, really. Card subject to change. I can just change stuff. Anyone can do it, which to me now just completely undermines Pearce's plan. They've just kind of changed it, which is card subject to change, storyline subject to change. It was a bit weird.
Yeah, it's that sort of, if there's a mistake in the audio, that gives you almost a free go. You could change that to anything, and the thing they chose was the thing that made kind of least storyline sense for this. A bit disappointing, but not the end of the world. Given how great everything else is.
Absolutely, yeah. It was still very good. I'm just, like you said, I'm just a little disappointed because the storyline has been so good, and I want it to be so good. I think it's more just comes from an emotional place of being like, I just want this to be perfect, and it's not.
It's sort of what I was saying last week, is that I almost think they jumped the shark with making the Roman Owens match already, last week. Because now it just means that they got to fill the next few weeks with just stuff. I feel like if none of that, you could have had the beatdown angle with Owens this week, and then it sets up Pearce making Owens his replacement in the match next week. Because then it's a real kind of like, oh, okay, just before the pay-per-view, this has changed. And then it's almost feels more menacing towards Roman.
Yeah, I like that. Or even if Kevin Owens wasn't on this show, if Pearce just got beaten down, and that was it. And then the week after, Pearce is like, ha, JK, thought you were going to get an easy match. Now it's Owens. I agree with you on that. I think that would have been a little bit better. But before we talk about the rest of the show, we've got a sponsor for this episode. We're sponsored by Beer 52, everybody. Amazing. Wish I could show my crate, but I don't have it yet.
What's this?
So I can't. That is fantastic podcast content, right?
I love beer. Beer is my favorite drink, and I like snacks.
You get both of those with Beer 52. If you go to beer52.com/WrestleTalk, which is also at the top of the description, you can get a free case of 8 craft beers, UK viewers only. Sorry. And all you have to do is pay for the shipping, which is like a £5, and you get 8 craft beers, which are bloody lovely, by the way. And you can get them in time to set you up for the Royal Rumble next Sunday. It's amazing. It's genuinely a brilliant subscription service. I know like Luke has been using it for years. And if I ever left this job, I'd still probably get a Beer 52 subscription because it's really good. It's genuinely fantastic. So beer52.com/WrestleTalk. Link is in the description. Go click the thing. Go there. Also, even if you just want to check it out, go check out the link because that helps us out as well. If you want to help support the channel, it would be a great time. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Let's talk about SmackDown. The whole show. So the show started, as we mentioned, with that Reigns promo. Yes. Afterwards, Sami Zayn came out and handcuffed himself to the barricade on the ramp with a series of picket signs throughout the night in protest of this conspiracy that's going on. I thought that was pretty funny. I think Sami's great with his little documentary crew. Some of the signs he had were quite funny. You know, he had like Sami was robbed, change my mind, was quite good. You know, when Big E was making an entrance, not my Intercontinental Champion. I thought it was very effective, very good. Fits perfectly with the character. Pretty fun.
Yeah. Yes, topical. It sort of brought into to the modern day, and I like the vibe of the kind of bad YouTuber trying to make a documentary about how there's a conspiracy theory against him, and he's sort of trying to find it out. He's a real Karen. He
is, yeah. He would like to speak to your manager.
He really does want to see everyone's manager. I like this. I wasn't so sure about his interference.
Well, we'll talk about that later when we get to it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, no. When you said Big E's entrance, I was like, oh, is that match next? I didn't think it was, but Anyway, we will talk about it later.
So after that, and Sami was there throughout the majority of the show, which I thought was great. Him just constantly, they just pan back to him and he'd just be there with a different sign. But the first match we had was Charlotte Flair and Asuka coming over from Raw because WWE suddenly remember, they're like, oh yeah, the women's tag team champions can go anywhere, right? Let's put them on SmackDown. The Omni Flair is real. And they had a match against the Riott Squad, which I think was actually pretty fun. I thought the Riott Squad actually looked pretty good in this match in terms of actual like in-ring capability. They put over that they can wrestle because they've not been treated as such for ages. But they actually, they had the upper hand on Charlotte of all people during this match, which was nice. But it all comes back again, once again, to Billie Kay. Because she was on the outside with the Riott Squad. She was trying to distract the referee. There was a couple of times where she distracted the ref at the start and the Riott Squad actually like took advantage of it. And I was like, oh, are they all turning heel? Are they all going to align and they're turning heel out of this? That wasn't what happened because later on in the match, Ruby Riott looked like she was going to get the pinfall over Asuka. And then Billie Kay accidentally was distracting the referee so that he couldn't count the pin for the Riott Squad. Asuka and Charlotte then came back, hit a code breaker and a natural selection, and then they won. So Billie Kay essentially cost them the match.
Yeah. So Billie Kay has been costing people matches for a long time. This is nothing new. To be honest, my main focus of this was the fact that Asuka was pinned. I know it wasn't legal pin because no one counted it, but having Asuka pinned again, that's your Raw Women's Champion, who I know they don't care about, but it's her being pinned again, and this just makes me think. I mean, they have no plans for her to have a single match at the Royal Rumble. This makes me think that it's going to be Riott Squad against Asuka and Charlotte at the Royal Rumble, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Riott Squad won because they don't care about the belts. It doesn't matter who they're on at the moment, so they might as well put them on there because that opens up Flair to be like, "Hey, Asuka, what the hell? You lost that match for us." Because I'm assuming it's going to be Asuka who gets pinned,
probably.
Which opens them up to the kind of like, oh well, they were best friends for a bit, but now, the match itself was good. It's just I hate seeing Asuka getting pinned so needlessly.
Even though she wasn't pinned, she was still pinned.
Yes, like visibly pinned. She had her shoulders were down for long enough for it to be a pin.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just a bit like you could have had that match, have the Riott Squad be really competitive, but not pin Asuka or like visibly pin Asuka.
Yeah. Is what it is. But we got a bit of Charlotte and Asuka on SmackDown, which was cool.
Yeah, it might just that might just be because they needed filler because they haven't got enough people at the moment.
100%. And also the most important part of that match, Tamina and Natalya are watching backstage. So you know what that means. Anyway, after that, we had Daniel Bryan.
Tamina's now official for the Rumble, by the way.
Oh, great. Oh, and so, of course, I forgot to mention the bit afterwards. Backstage, Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan are in the Rumble as well, because Billie Kay managed to pull some strings and get them in. And also, they abandoned Billie Kay immediately afterwards, because they said, you keep costing us matches. We were better when it was just the two of us. Please leave us alone. You're the worst. And walked off. I feel sorry for Billie Kay, and I don't know how they've managed that.
Yeah. Well, she feels like the annoying kid at school who doesn't realize that they're really annoying, and all they think is that they're trying to make trying to make friends. And and not that that's a personal experience of mine, but I can sort of empathize with that. Like she just wants to have friends, and
exactly,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. After that, Daniel Bryan came out to the ring and just put over the Royal Rumble match, just saying how, there's one thing I've never done in my career, that's win the Rumble. Here's all the rules for the Rumble. Did you know that there's 29 other people in it and you have to go to the main event of WrestleMania? Rumble, Rumble, Rumble. It was a fine promo.
Yeah.
Cesaro came out and said, I thought I beat some sense into you last week, but you're still out here saying you're going to win the Rumble. I beat you last week, you idiot. Bryan then gets fired up, takes off his jacket and says, I mean, I could go for a rematch right now because he's not wearing ring gear, he's wearing his suit. And Cesaro's just like, I really liked here, actually. One, that Cesaro cut a pretty good promo. I thought he showed a lot of charisma here, which is not something that Cesaro is typically known for. A lot of charisma here, which is great. And just the fact he was just like, no, I have nothing to prove to you. I beat you last week. Why would I have a rematch, you idiot? I thought it was great. But then it got a bit weird because he was like, I'm going to issue an open challenge. And every time someone says open challenge, I'm like, oh, who could it be? Is it going to be some surprise return? This is going to be exciting. It was Dolph Ziggler.
It was Dolph. As I said.
What? Why?
As I said when I won Quizzlemania this week, is it Dolph? And Adam said, yeah. That was confusing. Because you'd think that a babyface would come out, because Cesaro, he is a heel. Like there's no doubt that he is a heel. He's being pushed like a badass, which I really like, and I do think this is Daniel Bryan written all over it. I think Daniel Bryan is making sure this happens. Yeah, but Dolph is a weird choice. Like they're obviously going to have a decent match because it's Dolph and it's Cesaro. But not who I'd have chosen. No, but as much as I didn't want it to be Dolph, it was a weird choice. But they did have a very good match. Cesaro won in a few minutes. They had a great setup into the neutralizer, which was a great looking spot. Cesaro gets another win and gets momentum heading into the Royal Rumble, which is a weird phrase to say that Cesaro has momentum going into the Royal Rumble. Cesaro is not winning the Rumble. No. Go throw that out there now. He's not going to win the Rumble. Unless... This show made me excited to see Cesaro win the Rumble. He won't unless he does. So what's really refreshing is that I know that there's only like 2 or 3 people that could realistically win the Rumble. But they are making me not believe other people can win the Rumble, but they're making me believe that they're going to have a good showing in the Rumble. And that's, to be honest, that's all you need from a lot of people. Like, I now think that Cesaro is good. They're going to put over Cesaro in the Rumble and go, oh, well, he's been having a streak of great results, and him being eliminated is going to be a big deal. Big E is the Intercontinental champion. And he's going to have a great showing. He might even win it. Apollo has been put over. Daniel Bryan. There's so many people on SmackDown now that I'm like, Shinsuke won last 2 weeks ago, and I just think there's a lot of people who, while they're not going to win it, this could be a really, really good in-ring Rumble. I know the atmosphere is going to be lacking, but in terms of in-ring, this could be one of the best Rumbles ever, especially as although I loved Brock last year, I would like a different kind of Rumble this year. And if it's just lots of really good wrestling, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. There's also the possibility that Goldberg wins. So, there's always that to fall back on. Yeah, I like this. I love Cesaro winning this. It's great. After that, we had another weird match, which was Sasha Banks versus Reginald, which is Carmella's sommelier. Somehow, they managed to book an entire match where no one really took a bump.
Yes.
I mean, Reggie took a couple and then eventually took a bank statement and tapped. But the whole thing was like, Sasha Banks goes for a move, Reggie will dodge, flip out the ring or something, because he's done Cirque du Soleil stuff. And then Reggie would go for a move, and then Sasha would do an arm drag and like flip out of it and do an arm drag. And that was the whole match of them just doing flips and dodges and arm drags, and then bank statement and Sasha wins. It was fine. Like I don't care more about Sasha versus Carmella after this. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's classic December to January storylines, which are, damn it, we have not got enough. We have not got enough content to fill. It's usually like 7 weeks between TLC and the Rumble. We've got 4 weeks of story, and we need to fill 7 weeks. I guess they can have a match where she just sort of emasculates him for a bit and makes him tap. That'll be fine, I guess. But yeah, it does. Again, it's the whole, like, I wasn't massively into this feud, but I was into it. And now I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It feels like a whatever feud.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't really.
I have no part of me thinks that Carmella's winning. And that's not how it should be.
Oh, but she totally could, though, couldn't she? She's got no momentum, and it wouldn't make any sense, which is exactly why they do it.
The person bottom of Wrestle League, I can tell you, Carmella is not winning.
Totally. Yeah. So it was fine. Then we had that Heyman and Reigns backstage promo. And then we got Big E versus Apollo Crews, which I was quite excited for because of, Apollo hanging out with Roman Reigns last week. And it's another IC title match in like 2 weeks for Apollo. I was like, oh, so what are they gonna change up for this one? How's Reigns going to factor into this? And it's probably just going to be a really good match because their last one was really quick. And it was like, okay, here's your first bit. Then you had the restart. And then they had another really fun, quick bit. Cool. Probably going to have a bit more time here. Apollo didn't get an entrance. Big E was halfway out by the time he didn't even get to do his people at home thing because he was already making his entrance. They felt very rushed on this show. They immediately started with their big spots. It was like, overhead belly to belly, first thing, big splash on the apron. Let me do my gorilla press, moonsault, all sorts of big stuff. Uranagi. And then I was like, okay, so this is going to be a very quick match. Sure. How is Reigns going to factor into this? Turns out not at all because Sami Zayn uncuffs himself and then makes his way into the ring and haluva kicks both Apollo and Big E. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah, it felt like they had a 10-minute match planned and then they were taken to the side just before went, can you fit all those spots in 3?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, but we're going to do all of them. I'm not that disappointed that Roman wasn't involved. I don't think you need Roman in every segment. I think he can just be this kind of behind the scenes kind of someone with influence. I think that's a fine character for him to have in another feud. He doesn't need to be directly involved in this feud. And I'm completely up for seeing Sami Zayn against Apollo and Big E at the Rumble. That would be great. And yeah, like you say in your review that went out earlier today, it means that Big E can lose the belt without being pinned, which I actually think probably will happen. Because if he's winning the Rumble, then it would make sense for him not to lose and then win the Rumble. It would make sense for him to be pissed that he had lost his belt without actually being pinned.
Especially if there was shenanigans involved. If Apollo does do like a proper heel turn and, or even just does heel shenanigans to win. If Big E hits the big ending, but then Apollo chucks him out the ring and steals his pin kind of thing. Yeah. That kind of thing could totally work. And yeah, it does seem to be building up some sort of triple threat. Sami does not seem finished with the Intercontinental title. So that's probably where they're going. I didn't expect Reigns to just come out and interfere and make Apollo win or anything. It just felt a bit weird that they'd set something up and then didn't pay it off with anything at all. Not even Apollo tried to do a spear or something, something that's it's like that thing he was talking about with Reigns, or there's no sort of reference to it at all. So unless Apollo comes back next week, the week after, whenever, and just being hey man, I spoke to you about advice before, but nothing's changed. What else do I need to do, kind of thing? If they continue it, great, that's all good. I just hope that they do actually continue it and don't just be well, that was a 1 week thing. Apollo was just there and that's it. Hey ho, is what it is. Then we had we were told on commentary that Roman Reigns has left the Thunderdome. I was like, sure, yeah. Every single time we're told that, that's definitely what happens, Michael Cole.
Just like how Kevin Owens could not get into the building.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
It's so much better. You just don't say anything at all.
Yeah. It's so much worse when you just say they've left and you go, so they haven't left. So we will be seeing them later then. Cool. Thank you for that. But then we got a promo from Kevin Owens that he cut from his car because he couldn't get into the building, remember, because Roman Reigns had barred access. Which I thought this promo was really good. A really good babyface promo from Kevin Owens. Obviously, we know KO is a fantastic promo, but this felt so genuine and so heartfelt. And he was saying how he always fights and he never backs down. And we know that about him. But then he explained more about why he does that. It's not just because that's his character. It's because he's motivated by his grandfathers and he has their initials tattooed on his hand, on his 4 knuckles. I know you're going to make a joke. I can see you grinning already.
I'm not. I was grinning about something
else. But yes, he's got their initials tattooed on his hands. And he was saying, I'm fighting for them because they would have loved to have seen me in WWE, but they passed away before I made it here, a couple years before I made it to WWE. So while they couldn't see me in person, they're always with me and fighting with me. And that's why I don't stop fighting ever. And I'm like, I can buy that. That's really genuine, heartfelt, amazing babyface heat. I love it. It was great.
Do you also love things like the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, where they go, I love singing. Oh, by the way, about 43 years ago, my grandpa died. Oh, this is for him. No, I'm not saying that. No, this is an awesome promo, but it did have that kind of twinge of the America's Got Talent going, oh, well, here's my sob story. But like you say, it was a great promo. Kevin Owens is when he's on form, top 3 promos in the entire company. Yeah. Alongside Natalya and Tamina, and he just sort of exudes this passion, and you're like, yeah, I really want you to win, Kevin. I don't think you are, but I really want you to win. And I feel I feel like we're getting back to the whole Owens fight when he was at his best, and I want to see this man have a wrestling match. I want to see this man have a fight, because especially now that his character is this kind of I will never give up, which before, that's cool. But like you say, he now has explained why, and giving a justification, just adding justification to a storyline always gives it another 15, 20%. And that's all we needed. And this promo, that's all I honestly would have needed from Owens this week. Or while the beatdown was cool, I would have been perfectly happy with this, and then you can do a beatdown next week. Yeah,
exactly. I literally wrote in my notes. I was like, okay, Owens cuts a promo here. I think next week we're going to need something physical between Owens and Reigns, and that will send us home nicely. But then they did that this week anyway. But love this promo. I didn't get the sub story vibe from it at all. I just thought it was a really cool promo, but that's just me. But then after that, we had the Street Profits backstage. They found Sonya Deville, who I guess is the kind of sort of new general manager. Kind of, sort of. I don't know.
She wears a suit.
She does wear a suit, and she's helping out Adam Pearce. And they came up to her with this like gift basket and was like, "It's been 2 weeks since we lost the SmackDown tag team titles. We want a rematch." Like, rematches don't... They got rid of those, remember? So what they tried to do here was they tried to bribe Sonya Deville to get a rematch. That's what they did. They handed her a gift basket so they could get a rematch. Baby faces?
They're
bribing an authority figure who's not an authority figure to get him a rematch.
Yeah, because they haven't turned heel. They definitely haven't turned heel.
No.
This does not make any sense for their character. Baby faces want to fight. They want to prove themselves by fighting.
Yep.
So what they should be doing is going up to Sonya, I guess, and saying, "Look, we lost our belts. We're really bummed about it. Can we have a match to prove that we're still worthy of having this? Can we have a match against someone else? Not, do you like fruit? Do you like baskets? What's she going to do? Yeah, oh, thanks a lot. Oh, by the way, this is really what I wanted. You can have a match for the titles next week. This feels really confused, and it feels like they are going to have a match at the Royal Rumble, probably on the pre-show. It's that having 4 weeks of content for 7 weeks of TV. How to keep them relevant? Oh, I don't know. Have them give a gift basket to Sonya Deville, which totally makes sense.
It was strange. And on top of that as well, Sonya's response was, "No, I'll take the gift basket anyway, but no, you can't have a rematch. You chill. Your knee was pretty messed up, wasn't it, Ford? So you chill out. You let that rest. You do your promos. You hype up SmackDown, like you do. We're going to try out some new teams in the meantime." I was like, who could you possibly try out instead? And then, down the line, we can get your rematch in the future. It's no big.
Hey, they pushed the Alpha Academy hard on this show. They were in one of the main event segments.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So, but just before they gave the belt, she was seen talking to Dolph Ziggler, and of course they had that kind of partnership earlier this last year.
Yeah.
So that bit makes sense that Dolph may be saying, "Oh, by the way, I don't want to match with the Street Profits." And then she's going, "Oh, no. But the gift basket's just so weird.
Yeah, them trying to just bribe her made no sense. If they just removed the gift basket entirely, and instead of them asking for a rematch, they were asking for a chance to prove themselves. Great segment. Perfect. That's fine. Makes total sense for their characters. But the fact they literally tried to bribe her just kind of undermines everything they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then after this, we got the Ultimate Athlete Obstacle Course. Which was Bianca Belair and Bayley doing their thing. This segment was really, really dumb, and I actually quite enjoyed it though, because Bayley came out originally. They set up the obstacle course, which was you had to flip a tire, you had to go over some hurdles. There were some like climby wall things. Then you had to fireman carry a person around the ring, and then there was a basketball that you had to put into a hoop. Easy enough, right? Sounds basic enough. Bayley went first. I thought she did a pretty good job of putting over like the difficulty of the tasks, even though she was obviously hamming it up. During the wall climbing bits, she just ran around the walls. Probably should have meant she was disqualified, but that's fine. It was dumb. It was Bayley's idea. It makes sense. She'd enlisted the help of the Alpha Academy. So Chad Gable was there, who was being fireman carried across. One of my favorite bits of this show was just Bayley cutting the promo before she started, just being like, "I've enlisted the help of the Alpha Academy. So Chad Gable down there, we're going to have to fireman carry him." And it cuts to a shot of him, and you can just hear him off match being like, "Glad to help, glad to be here." It's just really like enthusiastic heel idiot. I love him. So Bayley goes first, sets time. Bianca goes second, but Bayley says, let's EST up this course just for you. So she puts in bigger hurdles. And then when she gets around to fireman carrying Chad Gable, instead she has to fireman carry Otis, which was pretty funny, honestly, and genuinely quite impressive of her just fireman carrying him, no problem, and just walking straight across the pit. It was cool. She then dunked the basketball, won the time, and then Bayley beat her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most of it was fun. Most of it was goofy. Most of it was fun to watch. But I don't like that she immediately gets beaten up. Like, you are great in an obstacle course, but as a wrestler, I just completely dominated you. The moment, I know it was a sort of surprise attack and whatever, but if they are planning on pushing Bianca Belair and maybe having her win the Rumble, which is a rumor at the moment, this isn't the way to do it.
No, I don't think so. I feel like she should beat Bayley in a match, maybe next week. They can say the culmination of their feud happens next week, setting them up for the Rumble, I think, would be the way to do it.
Yeah, it feels like this could either be pre-show match or a next week match. I think next week makes more sense, and I think that probably is what's going to happen. But and then if Bianca wins next week, it's kind of like, okay, cool, but you've done not a lot for the last few weeks, and I'm not. This doesn't make me believe in Bianca Belair as a potential Rumble winner. I
would hope that if they do a match next week, I said do. If they do a match next week, I would hope that Bianca's kind of like pissed off. She's just like, I beat you in the obstacle course and you're just a sore loser. Why do you keep beating me up? You know I'm better than you. I'm just going to kill you now. And she wins in like 2 minutes or something. She just goes ham, just goes absolutely insane and just murders her. That would be a really cool way to get her over and give her momentum to the Rumble. But that's just me. After that, we got King Corbin and Dominik Mysterio in a match. This bit was a bit weird as well, because Dominik Mysterio backstage was talking to Ray and just being like, hey, I'm going to do things my way this week. And Ray's just like, okay, we can do things your way. But, you know, if things go south, we're going to go back to doing things my way. That's just how we do things. He's like, yeah, don't worry. But don't worry. I've got this, okay? I was like, so what's he got planned? This is weird. Like, what's Dom got in the bag kind of thing? What he's got in the bag was losing, because he fought completely fairly, you know, much like his father would do. Just fought as he would, went for a 619, got countered, hit the end of days, and he lost. Which, again, fine. I get where they're going with this. Dominik isn't quite ready yet. Get that stuff. What are they talking about with the tactics and do things your way, do things my way? They're the same way. You're just fighting normally. Yeah,
they have very similar in-ring styles.
Yeah.
They've got the same finisher.
Yeah.
And the same result happened.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. Again, it's the whole don't have enough storyline.
I think where they're going with it is that Dom's going to get annoyed at Ray because Ray's trying to like control Dominik's career or whatever it may be. Fine, sure. You want to do like a split up angle or whatever you want to do. Cool. On board with that. This seems like a weird way to set it up because, like I said, their way of wrestling is the same. So them saying, let's do things your way, let's do things my way, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think Dom's going to eliminate Ray at the Royal Rumble. And I think Dom's going to have a really good showing. And then he's going to be like, look, you told me to do it my way, and I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
And then it was every man for themselves. It's literally on the rules.
Yep. My way, I'm better than you now, Dad.
Yeah.
You're old and I'm young. Let me do things my way. Company's changed. I don't know, whatever.
It's May way or the Ray way.
That's awful. And then after that, we had the main event segment of Pearce and Heyman. Overall, I thought this was a solid show. It's not as good as what SmackDown's been recently, but it wasn't a bad show by any means. It was still good. So I would rate it 3 out of 4. Good.
So I did rate it 3 out of 4 initially in my notes, but then we spoke about it, and now I'm like, there were lots of bits that just didn't quite sit right with me. So if we still had the out of 5, I'd give it a 2 and 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But because we've only got 4 now, I'm going to have to go with a 2. But I really, in my heart, it's a middle between 2 and 3.
That's still low, though.
2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Nah. 3's the middle, mate. Anyway. Yeah. That was the show. It's Go Home show next week. I'm excited to see what they do, because I'm hoping that what they've done is, like you said, they've got a certain amount of weeks of content, but they've actually saved the last one until last. So I'm hoping that this one is actually going to be a really good show. And then they've done a couple weeks of filler here and there to slot it in. So looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get out of here, we now need to say thank you to some very special people, and those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on Patreon. If you go to WrestleTalk's Patreon page, there's loads of cool stuff you can get, like WrestleTalk Extra. That's up now. We're going to be doing WrestleTalk After Dark next week. And if you pledge at the $25 tier or above, you get your own custom wrestling nickname, and it gets read out on a show much like this one. So thank you very much to Viernes el Décimo Tercero, Jason Gutierrez. Woo!
Well pronounced.
Thank you.
Zandarmania, Running Wild.
Why would you do that? It's Zandarmania. We love Zandarmania. Yes, thank you very much, Xander. We love you. Thank you very much. Angelic, Angelo Mercado. Woo!
Ah, he is. Bananaz. Hannah Bananas.
You never heard Gwen Stefani before?
No, I have, but I just was reading it. Was weird.
Yep. WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan. Woo! Thank you very much.
He is. Always leave the crowd wanting Brian Moore.
Oh, yes. Love it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian Moore. Arnie K. The K stands for the coolest dude ever. Woo!
Oh, he is.
Thank you very much.
Dustin the Professor Layton.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. Rip and Liam Tear. Woo! Yes, thank you very much.
Wonderful. And finally, the enlightened savior of the masses, Damien.
No, there's no R to roll there. That's a terrible one.
Damien.
You're welcome. Damien, etc. Yes, thank you very much to all our pledge hammers. And before we get out of here, we're sponsored by Beer 52. Go in the link in the description, beer52.com/WrestleTalk. You get your own free case of 8 craft beers. Get them sent to you, UK viewers only. You can get your set up in time for Royal Rumble. You also get snacks. You get really cool stuff. It's free. You don't have to pay for shipping. Do the thing. Click the link. It's great. Promise. beer52.com/WrestleTalk. Do the thing. Thanks, guys. Okay, we're going to go now. Press the videos on screen that have just appeared to catch up with more WrestleTalk stuff, and the button in the middle that make you become a pledge hammer on Patreon. I have been Corporate Chopper. I've been joined by Randy Andy Datson, and that was SmackDown.